2, 1. Welcome to the latest episode of 5 on the Floor on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Thanks for joining us on your favorite podcast app. We're on Podbean, Spotify, Google Podcasts, also Apple Podcasts, and you can find us on Dash Radio. That's every single weeknight at 7 p.m. on their Nothing But Net channel. Also, check out the 5 Reasons YouTube channel for all of our live streaming shows, including Before Floor, an hour before every single Heat game. Greg and I both appear on that nightly, along with Brady, Jonathan, and Ricky. Also, the Post Up 5R show, hosted by Royal Shepherd with his cast of characters. That's every single night as soon as the buzzer sounds. Also, check out 5reasonsports.com. That's our no paywall website. That's where you can find the latest from Brady, Mateo, and others. Again, do not have to pay, but you can check out all the content. Also, check out the great sponsors of the 5 Reasons Sports Network, including our newest sponsor. Now, this is for a store in Coral Springs. It's called Intense Nutrition. That's right, Intense Nutrition. Everything they do there is intense. They will do the cleanse and detox for you. You can lose 10 to 15 pounds in 10 days. They'll design specific stacks for you, whether for the aging man, the budding athlete, or just to fight cold and flu season. And of course, they've got all your pre and post-workout regimens. So why would you go here instead of one of the big chains? Because you're going to get personalized service. First thing, they're from this area, the guys there, Mike and everybody else, and also they're big Miami sports fans. That's why they're partnering up with us. So go have a good conversation and get yourself a tailor-made sort of treatment or workout program. They'll do it for you at Intense Nutrition. They're not just waiting for you to go in the door, out the door, and all that sort of stuff. They actually will work with you and build a relationship. Superior quality and superior service. The Twitter handle is IN_nutritionFL. You can also find them on Facebook and on Instagram at Intense Nutrition, and they're right there on 2540 North University Drive in Coral Springs. Here's the phone number. It's 954-775-0257, 954-775-0257. And now, tonight's episode.
Yikes. 5 on the floor, ride for my dogs. Where here's the thing, you can check the score. Hustle hard, couple scars, wearing rubber frauds. Just like Butler said, you in trouble, y'all. Kept the floor playing, got it all banned. Y'all seen the block, stop with one hand. And Pat we trust, it's power, have the guts. We're here to bring the heat, y'all can hang it up.
Welcome to 5 on the Floor, a daily insider show on the Miami Heat and the NBA, featuring Ethan Skolnick, Greg Sylvander, and Alex Toledo, plus others from the 5 Reasons Sports Network.
All right, welcome back to 5 on the Floor on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Here is tonight's floor plan. I've got Greg Sylvander. You can follow him at Greg Sylvander. I've got Brady Hawk. You can follow him at Brady Hawk 305. We might have Alex Toledo, not exactly sure at the moment. But tonight is all things Tyler Herro. We've done a couple of Tyler Herro pods, but now that he's come back from this trip where he is, which, I mean, I put up the numbers today. He's putting up Trae Young numbers. I mean, like, he's right there. I mean, he's averaging 3 fewer points in 1 fewer minute with 1 fewer shot. Not as many assists, but more rebounds per game. And the percentages are nearly identical in terms of field goal percentage, 3-point percentage, and free throw percentage. He is right there. So he put himself in that category. He said he wanted to be in that tier. So far this season, he's in that tier. He's also doing it on a team that is winning, which Atlanta, even as well as they played last season, getting to the conference finals, is not doing. So what I'm going to do here with Greg and Brady, we're going to start here with Brady. We did not prepare this together, okay? Well, basically, I sent out a group text this morning, and I said, what has impressed you most about Tyler Herro so far? Pick one thing. So we haven't revealed it to each other. Hopefully we don't double up. I hope everybody's got a backup just in case. Brady's the youngest. It's just like, you know, it's just like for Jewish dinner, like the youngest gets to say the first prayer. Brady, I know that may not apply to you necessarily. Go.
Yeah, I'll say the first prayer here. I think it's the mid-range where is a good place to start. Just overall, just how he's grown in that space. Something that I really didn't expect. Like, I think we know what he was as a mid-range player. We look back to last season when they had Goran and they had Kendrick and they had Tyler. They just basically had the same guy copied and pasted as a mid-range guy. Like, we talked about it before the playoff series, and we're like, we're playing Milwaukee against this drop and they can get to the elbow every time. But that was all they had, was a guy getting to the elbow. Now you're seeing a guy that's able to mix it up. And the 2 games in LA, he was 0 for 6 from 3 and 1 for 7 from 3 in those 2 games. And he still ended up with 23 points and 27 points. Like, if that doesn't show growth, I don't know what does. You're seeing a guy that does not phased by the 3-point shot. Like last season, he was pretty bad when catch and shoot threes. Like, he was not shooting the ball well in that space. And you kind of saw him be impacted as a player because he was not making those shots. Now this year, he's actually making three ball. I think it was 45% on catch and shoot threes this season, but it's not even the biggest thing, probably not even the top three part of his offensive game that we're seeing. But looking at the mid-range specifically, I think the interesting thing about it is just the difficulty of the shots he's taking. Like, he's probably seeing more doubles this season than anybody on the team, which is not something I expected. Like, I would expect Jimmy and Duncan, for starters, to see way more doubles than him. And I think just from an eye test, it feels like Tyler's just seeing it night in, night out. He gets to his spots. It's not just the elbow. He's shooting, looking at last night specifically, he's getting to the inner wing. He's getting to the baseline. He's just doing what he wants to do, even when he has basically 10 eyes on him at all times when he has the ball in his hand. So I think that's the interesting thing. We've talked about the separation thing time and time again. Like, can he create separation? Can he improve his ball handling? Maybe go one-on-one? And he's doing it in a different way. And the way I was saying earlier today is he's doing it just through his lift. Like, he's just lifting up over the top of guys so high that he did it even his rookie season, to be clear. Like, he was rising up over the top of guys for game, big shots against Philly, just way over the top of guys. But now it seems like the 10 pounds of muscle went into his legs and he's really going into that area where that's his separation. He gets a Darius Baisley on him and he rises up over the top of him like it's nothing. So it's like we're seeing his own way of creating separation. And I think that's just the interesting thing, that we're seeing a guy that can score at three levels when he chooses, but the mid-range is by far the best part of his game. And it seems like the trajectory of it is higher than we expected even before this road trip.
That was quite a prayer. I don't want to give away what maybe Greg's or if Alex shows up or mine, but I think just to add to that, the thing that strikes me most about his mid-range game is the calm that he's playing with. He is playing at his own pace. It's like he kind of has an idea. I don't think 2 years ago even he had an idea what spots he wanted to get to when a play started. It was a little sort of helter-skelter. Now it's like it's at his own pace. And I've said this before, but one of the conversations I had with Dwayne that always stuck with me was he basically said, he told me, he says, I wish I was as fast as I used to be when the game finally slowed down. And that's the thing. It's this mix of when the mental and the physical come together. We saw, I'm not comparing Tyler to LeBron, so nobody aggregate this, but I'm saying we saw with LeBron, the reason that I think people view it, I do at least, as 12-13 as being his best season, it's when he was still at a physical peak, but the mental had caught up to it. Now, in the last 10 years of his career, physically, we see he can't stay on the floor as often. He can't defend on a possession-by-possession basis. Mentally, he's there, but the mental has passed the physical now for LeBron. That's and it happened for Dwayne sooner because his knees broke down on him. But that is where I think, again, Tyler has reached this mental level at a very young age. And it is unusual, but it plays into the mid-range because mid-range, you're making decisions in the mid-range. Like, you have to have an idea where you want to get to. And then when the defender comes, what you're going to go to. And he has already figured that out, Greg.
He has. So some of that is kind of what I was going to lean into, but obviously there's so much around Herro that we can find other stuff. Do you want Greg Sylvander's answer or Lefty Leif's answer first?
I will take Lefty Leif's answer first.
Lefty Leif says that
I didn't know we were split personalities tonight.
No, I'm joking. So the biggest takeaway from that perspective is there's no one in the league that can even check him. Like it's, I have yet to see somebody rattle him. And to your point about like the game slowing down, there's parts of that where you expect players to just go through stretches where a player just irritates them. There were guys that irritated Dwayne year in and year out that were around the league. And I'm sure that there'll be a guy here or there that can irritate Tyler.
Kirk
too.
Heinrich jumps to mind.
Exactly. That's a great example of somebody that was just pesky or whatever you want to say. Like there'll be guys like that Tyler will come across, but so far he's just been so poised. If you look at all the great shooters, like even looking Heat history at guys like Glenn Rice, like every time they went up and took the shot, it looked exactly the same. That's what he's gotten to. And he can do it off the dribble, catch and shoot, with like with people flying at him, he's able to kind of, he's staying poised. And it's to your point, like that's the mental side of it catching up. The ability to finish through contact has completely changed his, like what he's able to go to when the mid-range or the 3-point shot isn't there. So I think that's huge. And now I'm blending in Greg Sylvander. See, I just figured like, let's transition straight to the basketball stuff. But the overarching theme is that like, literally, can y'all think of a player this season that has checked Tyler where you've been like, oh man, look, he's giving Tyler trouble? Like, it hasn't happened yet.
No, not really. I mean, I think that, the couple games that he struggled with, I really think like it's been more him. Honestly, I just think it's an off night. I don't think it's
like the Boston game and the Denver game. Like I can't
the
think
Boston,
of any-
and look, against Boston and Denver, like the whole damn team struggle. In the games that they've won, he's played well. And reality is, in the games that they've lost, with the exception of those two, the Indiana game, the two LA games, he played well. Yeah. And others let them down in those games. It wasn't him. All right, we're gonna get to Greg Sylvander here in a second. Now that we've hit on Brady's, Alex is going to join us, so he'll have to catch up here. But Brady's was the mid-range. That is what has struck him the most. Before we get to Greg's, I want to tell you about another great sponsor of the 5 Reasons Sports Network. You got to start playing this. It's Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com. Use the code 5. Your initial bonus will be matched. That's right. So put down $100. You don't have to play the whole 100 at once. You can play 20. Put down $100, and they'll give you $100 to play with. It's a pretty damn good deal. But you can do NBA, NFL, NHL. You can play 2 players together, 3, 4, 5, across sports, across teams. Do the power play to go all in. Do the flex play to go halfway in if you want to hedge a little bit. But what you got to do is go to prizepicks.com. We're seeing new players sign up every day using our code. The code is 5, F-I-V-E. We've got a new Prize Picks show. In addition with what I do with Dave Eversole and David Friedman on the NFL, Greg's going to start joining us, as is Brady, on some of the NBA stuff we're doing. So look for that on our YouTube channel coming up this week. But again, the biggest thing, use the code 5, F-I-V-E at prizepicks.com. All right, let's get to it. Brady picked the mid-range. No duplication, guys. Greg, you're up.
Yeah, so in this respect, it really is, and I kind of already alluded to it. I gave away Greg Sylvander's too early, and listen to me speaking at the third person. I'll never do this again on a podcast.
Split personality is the third person, man.
Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of week we're having here at 5 on the floor. No, truthfully, it's that ability to finish through contact. It's changed the mid-range game for him. It has opened up things for him that I didn't see coming, and just that base being so stable, you see it on every single shot. It looks exactly the same. I'm telling you, like, go back and watch Ray Allen highlights, and not the Ray Allen dunks, because he had years where he was, yoking on people's heads. Tyler's not doing that. Look at the stuff that Ray Allen was doing off the catch, and just the way he moved and the way that he was always consistent. Glenn Rice's highlights, go watch him. Like Chris Mullen even had some of those kind of highlights. Like he's kind of, what he's showing the signs of is being an elite scorer. And that is something that there's parts of it you can't teach. So the elite scoring, I think, is what I would take away as Greg Sylvander, and no more third person.
Yeah. And the elite scoring, again, when you look at the charts right now, he's top 20 in the league. He's done it while coming off the bench in all but 3 games. He is not leading the Heat in scoring. I know that's what I projected, but he's damn close. He's 2 points behind Jimmy. And I think that number is going to tighten as the season goes on. I think now that they're going to Tyler more, giving Jimmy less of a burden as the season goes on is going to be a priority. There are going to be some games Jimmy plays 25 minutes. If they get a lead, he sits the fourth quarter and Tyler finishes it. I think Tyler may catch him in scoring this year. And it's not anything negative about Jimmy. I just think that's where this thing is trending. But again, we talked about the Heat having to go out and get a scorer who could finish in contact, right? Who could play at 3 levels. And it turns out they have one on the roster, and all he needed was.
Thank you, Drew Hanlon.
Well, Drew Hanlon,
all of our guys out to Drew.
We got to get Drew on the pod. This is an open call. We've made this before. The problem is when you try to reach Drew, it sends you to something to buy his instructional video, and it's not helping me at this stage. Maybe it'll help Brady or Alex. It's not going to help me. So for Drew, if you want to come on the pod, you can. But that is to me the big thing is that they have a scorer on the roster when we didn't know where the scoring was going to come from, and a lot of it is the finishing in contact. All right, Alex has had some time to sit here now and come up with his, but we've talked about finishing in contact in the mid-range game. Everything else is on the table. Before we come back with Alex's take, we'll tell you about another great sponsor of the 5 Reasons Sports Network. It's our friends over at Biscayne Bay Brewing. This is the official beer of the 5 Reasons Sports Network, also of the Miami Marlins. They've got the Tropical Bay IPA, the Marlins Lager, the Miami Pale Ale, the Pastime Pilsner, and they're building a tap house in Miami. That's right. It's going to be open soon, right down the street from FTX Arena. You will find us hanging out there quite a bit. Again, they've got the kiosks, and now we wanted to tell you about them tonight because if you're going to be at the arena tomorrow, they got the kiosks. I believe it's outside of 122, but also in the 300 level. They've got 2 kiosks there. This is the only independent brewery in South Florida. So make sure you check them out, BiscayneBayBrewing.com. You can also find them at all of your local Publixes, Whole Foods, and at many, many, many local restaurants, including Quarter Deck, one of our sponsors. So go to BiscayneBayBrewing.com, find out where you can get it. And again, I prefer the Tropical Bay IPA, but choose what you like. All right. We're bringing in Alex here. We got 2 off the board. What has impressed you most about Tyler Herro this season?
Well, you guys going first definitely made it a lot easier on me. But something I talked about a lot when we would discuss Tyler coming into the season was the 3-point shooting, right? And that's something that was obviously brought up with him because the percentages went down, just a little bit. It wasn't anything crazy, but I just think people expected him to be something closer to what Duncan is. And he's kind of been that from that aspect of his game this season. Like he's doing it on a lot of attempts, and that's obviously just one part of what he's done, right? You guys went over the other things, but not only that, he's doing it while also improving on his playmaking. Like his assist percentage went up by, I believe, 7, while his turnover percentage stayed around the same. He's doing it on way higher usage. And the fact that he's kind of gotten better in every aspect of his game while also still, maximizing himself as a shooter and an outside-in guy, that's really how he's been able to maximize his game as well, right? Like they know that, you can't just kind of give him that shot. There's other guys that you have to close out hard on, and he's one of those guys now. I think if that could have gone the other way, that might have been an issue for him, but it's clearly not. He's just a shooter. He's back to being, I think, that sniper that people expected him to be. And pretty much everything has gone up for him when you look at the advanced stats, and including the win shares per 48. You look at the team, the offensive rating, they're in the top 5, and Herro just has so much to do with that.
It's a great point. I mean, I know people are going to say, well, yeah, he's not only in Duncan Robinson's category, he's out shooting him from 3 by a pretty significant number right now. Although I expect that to close. I think Alex, the other thing about it is, he's getting his 3-point shots in different ways now, right? Like, I mean, it's the pull up, but it's also some catch and shoot. I mean, he just seems, again, more comfortable. If the 3's there, he's going to take it. He's not going to force it. Because you hit on the basketball stuff, and because all 3 of you did, and which is going to leave something on the table for me, which is what I wanted. I'll just get in on the basketball stuff here a little bit, and then we'll go to break and get to my take. But to me, the other thing is he's become a playable defender. And I'm surprised none of the 3 of you jumped on that, but because I know we're focusing on the offense, but I mean, it does seem like his instincts on defense have gotten better. I'm not saying he's ever going to be elite. We know about the short arms, but like he's been like, you're not really worried about him getting hunted on that end. And I think the very fact that we haven't had to talk about it all season is a positive, right?
Yeah, because he's bulked up. I mean, That's like he got in the weight room and now you can't get pushed around. I think that there's just elements of that help on the defensive end. And when you're a hooper, you know what you're supposed to do. Maybe physically you can't get there sometimes, but I think mentally he knows where he's supposed to be. So that you bring up a great point with his defense. And I think that the more he builds out his body, the more that he'll close the gap in that regard too.
I think, and I want to say real quick that part of it's Tyler Herro just improving on that end. And the other part of it is him being surrounded by a whole team of guys that are all defensive caliber,
Good point.
Guys. Like he's not playing with Goran and Duncan for 20 to 22 minutes a game anymore. So like, I think you're just seeing them be able to not leave him on an island and you have guys around him that are unsure where to go, or do I go help? Do I leave my guy? They just know, like, this is a group of guys that is not only talented defensively, but they just know what they're doing defensively, mentally. So I think that plays into it as well. Just seeing him be able to kind of play his strength on defense, which, as you mentioned, is just playing his instincts, going for a double, going to hit the passing lanes when he thinks he can get the ball. So I think that plays into it as well.
All right. When we come back, I want to get into mine, and I'll let all of you guys comment on it. Before we do, though, I want to tell you about another great sponsor, the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Is your company starting to go back to trade shows? Do you run the company? Are you friends with the boss? Do you want to make friends with the boss? Tell them about everythingtradeshows.com. They're based right here in Fort Lauderdale, right off of Las Olas, but they service all 50 states. They can teach you everything and do it all for you. It's one-stop shop, logistics, booth, graphics, furniture, flooring, even some tips to get you noticed, teach you the difference between renting and buying. Schedule a free consultation. If you mention 5 Reasons, you will also get a free booth rendering. Show you exactly how it's going to look. Check out our 5 Reasons Instagram page. I post some of them on there. Really cool stuff. They work with everybody from Citrix to Microsoft. So big companies, they can certainly help yours. 954-791-8882. 954-791-8882. Everythingtradeshows.com. Ask for Chris. Again, it's 954-791-8882. Well, look, I love the numbers, and obviously, I will break down film on occasion, although not quite as well as say Brady and Alex do here. But ultimately, at heart, I'm a little bit like Greg, and I'm a narrative guy. And to me, the thing that's most impressive about Tyler Herro is that last season and the public pressure on him didn't break him. I mean, that's what jumps out to me. I mean, because we've seen a lot of guys, particularly hyped guys who he doesn't necessarily hype himself. I know with some of the dress and stuff, but it's really more those who like him and those who don't, those who identify with him and those who don't, because he is, kind of as he was like a drippy white athlete. Like there aren't a whole lot of those. Like he sort of is this new subcategory. He's got songs written about him by Jack Harlow. And obviously he's got the Instagram, I guess, girlfriend and, young child now. I mean, he's got a lot of stuff going on. He did a video, he did a documentary series with Overtime, which we promoted. All of this stuff going on and the noise about him potentially getting traded, some of which came from here. Okay. The noise about some teammates being frustrated with him not getting in the weight room, which was true last year. The noise about the Heat really not knowing which direction he was going to go, which was true last year. You've got all of that as a 21-year-old kid now raising a child with a girlfriend in Miami with all the lights on you, having to perform at a high level. You got anointed as a rookie in the Eastern Conference Finals. Seriously, add all that up. Like that could have broken this kid. Like I've seen like less stuff break at other athletes. Okay. And I think what he has shown and why I feel like he is untradeable at this point, which is not something I would have said before, is he has the mental fortitude to play in this place at a high level in high leverage situations and compete for championships for a long fucking time. And I don't think before this season, any of us would have said that. I really don't. I think we can say so now, but we didn't know. You come out in the first 14 games of the season, you're averaging 22 on 47% shooting, 39% from 3, the best player on the floor some nights, and closing games. Like, I don't think the Heat knew they had this. And I feel like what Pat Riley said before the season at the presser, we seemed a little annoyed about Tyler's comments, which were, to me, to the comments of our friend Jeremy Taché, which to me were totally benign. Okay. And Jeremy presented them in a benign way, but they got aggregated a different way. Like those comments that he made, like Pat said, if I could talk to a young player, I would say, don't put the bullseye on your back like that. Well, you know what? He put the bullseye on his back and everybody's missed except him. And so to me, that is what I take out of this. The basketball stuff is great. That's a product of the work. Okay, that's a product of a skill level that obviously he possesses. But to me, you didn't break him. We have seen guys, I don't want to mention them, but we've seen stars come here on $90 million contracts, and we've seen them break. We've seen players play with Zoe and Tim. I'm not going to mention names, okay? High character guys who are making a lot of money after basketball right now, but they had to be traded because they broke in the high pressure situations. You guys all know who I'm talking about, okay? This kid has not broken. To me, guys, and anybody can jump in on this, to me, that is what is most impressive about his start.
You expect me to follow that shit? Hell no. We are done here.
All right. Have a good night. PrizePicks.com. Use the code 5. PrizePicks.com. Use the code 5. EverythingTradeShows.com. Certainly reach out to them if you go to a trade show anytime soon. Get your free booth rendering by mentioning 5 Reasons. Our friends over at Intense Nutrition, that's in Coral Springs. Go say hello to them and go visit with them. And of course, Biscayne Bay Brewing, which I'm going to go grab a couple of these right now. Have a good night.
Thank you for listening to the 5 on the Floor on the 5 Reasons Sports Network.